Good morning, and welcome to the Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship. We're a Unitarian Universalist fellowship, and we fondly refer to ourselves as BUFF. We welcome you whether you're here in person or visiting online, whether this is your first time here or you're a longtime member or a friend. We're just so glad you're here. I'm Carrie Koehnline, and my pronouns are she, her. This morning, Steffany Raynes and I will be leading the service with musical support from Karen FitzGerald. And we're all members of BUFF, and Steffany and I are also members of the Celebrant team that supports the worship services. We're in the midst of our summer services, and our minister, Reverend Sunny Joy McMillan, is on a well-deserved break. So I have a few announcements before we really dive into the service. First of all, baseball. Rod Haynes has asked me to give you a final reminder that this coming Friday, July 31st at 6:30 p.m., the Bellingham Bells will be taking on the Victoria Harbor Cats at Joe Martin Field on Lakeway Avenue. There are 9 remaining tickets going at $18 apiece. Please join us. And again, this is the last call. And if anyone in the congregation knows of a person or family who can't afford to go to the ball game, there are 3 scholarship tickets and for people in need, free of charge. See Amy Van Pelt or Rod Haynes just right out there in the narthex after the service. They have a table that's labeled Play Ball. And is Gail Tillis out there with a tour sign? Gail will be giving a tour of our building right after the service, if you're curious about the nooks and crannies. I'd also like to tell our families that there will be an excellent children's program today. I'll be sharing a story, and then right after that, they'll be invited to go upstairs. And pre-K to 5th grade are welcome to join our child care providers. There is also a wiggle room in the back where little ones can play while parents listen to the service. So if your child would like to be able to play without having to be quiet, that might be a good option. And finally, there will be a celebration of life for longtime member Joe Pullen this afternoon here in the sanctuary at 3 o'clock. The details are in your order of service. And now, Karen will bring us into our time of worship.
Good morning. I'm Steffany Raynes. My pronouns are she and her. I'm wearing new bifocal glasses that allow me to look at my notes and look at all of you. I know, hooray. Carrie and I have shaped a service for you this morning on a topic that is familiar and meaningful to both of us. We invite you into an exploration of creativity that is not just about the arts, but about what it means to live a creative life. To begin, I'm stealing a line from Barbara Tenhove's sermon last week. Beauty can and does emerge not from perfection, but from brokenness. And each of us can use our broken places to help heal and create beauty around us. There are many broken places in our world right now. So there are many, many needs for us to contribute beauty and creativity to help heal them. Finding ways to respond to the challenges of life with grace and humor calls for full-out creativity, especially right now. During our recent trip to visit my family, I asked myself, what would creativity look like in this situation with relatives that I love but barely know, and at a gathering that was planned for the beach and backyard while heavy rain and thunder was approaching? Yesterday at the vigil for Lorenzo and Johan, killed by ICE agents recently, there was all kinds of creativity. There were signs and flowers and singing, and there were two people carrying a lightweight coffin with their names on the side around the intersection, slowly throughout the whole ritual. I have been remembering a phrase that has been kind of a mantra in my life since my days of being an educational coach. Begin to be what you want to create. So where do you see signs of creativity? And who inspires you to bring your creative gifts to the table? We invite you to ponder those questions throughout this service. Our next hymn is "Oh, We Give Thanks," and I'd like to give thanks to Carrie, who shares her creative journey so humbly and honors and supports me on mine. If you would stand in body or spirit.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We're all
While Carrie lights our chalice, I'm sharing a quote from John Batiste, a classically trained pianist who is boldly innovative. He's had the audacity to create his own amazing versions of Beethoven. He composed and directed an American symphony captured in an excellent documentary by the same name, where he included indigenous drums and non-traditional, non-classical instruments like banjos and didgeridoos, because he wanted to express the true diversity of American music in a symphonic form. I admire and appreciate him so much. Here's his answer to the question, what does it mean to live a creative life? I think it means that we stay open-hearted and wholehearted. It means that when we step toward life, life will step toward us. It means that everything before us is waiting for our inquiry and participation. It means that engagement with curiosity is what connects us in the web of relationship. When connected in that web, we are brought alive, kept alive, made tender and grateful. Please stand. Well, you don't have to stand. Please join me in reciting our covenant. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service gives it life. Celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth, we work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant.
All right, I have a book to share. I'm going to come down here. We're going to have slides on the screen, but there's also this very little book that was first written 71 years ago. And some of you, how many of you have ever heard of the book Harold and the Purple Crayon? So as I share this book, I'd like you to think about what would you want to draw if you had a magic purple crayon? One evening, this is Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long, straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across the field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon, and it even frightened Harold. He backed away, his hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly, he realized what was happening. But by then, Harold was over his head in the ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time, he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie. But there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see. So he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon, and he grabbed on it, and he made a basket and under the balloon big enough to stand in. Yeah, right. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly, Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. He got in and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. And that's the story of Harold and the purple crayon. We're going to see what's you. Thank you for listening so well. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go, to nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, May your heart be at peace as you go. Hold you in our love as you go. On June 30th of this year, I retired my gentle approach coaching practice. In the past 6 months, I've gone through a profound process of goodbyes with my clients, and I've had a fresh appreciation for having found a work life that fit me so well. I was a dreamy child with a good imagination, but as a young person, I had very little confidence or ambition, and I couldn't really imagine how on earth I was going to make my way in the adult world of work. In the past 3 months, I started writing poems about my work life, reflecting on its beginnings and how one thing led to another, seeing the whole progression of how my best work emerged. Engaging in that process got me thinking a lot about what it takes to meet life with creativity. I used to think that to be creative in the adult world meant you had to be a famously successful artist, writer, or musician. Otherwise, creativity had no place in the serious work of being a grown-up. But it turns out that just navigating being an adult in the world asks that we try things, take risks, make mistakes, follow hunches, and let go of what isn't working or is no longer a fit. Whether we're talking about the world of relationships, parenting, identity, profession, or some other area of challenge and growth. Especially when we feel like we can't possibly fit into the existing norms. That can nudge us into creating a handmade life, uniquely our own. Inside each impossible question, there lies a hint of a new way forward. Like any artist, we have to notice what blocks us and what helps us flow and emerge. For example, it was deeply significant to my younger self when, after having had my soul crushed in jobs at department stores, offices, and restaurants, I got a job working with older folks at an adult daycare center called Great Opportunities, which was the perfect name. There I found myself teaching art and poetry and leading sing-alongs for old world Jews and gentle-voiced African Americans. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it didn't matter. It was a job that asked me to emerge from my shyness and bring forward more of myself, and that was compelling. A little clue that I was on the right track, that nudged me into deciding to go to graduate school. Once you sense you might be heading in the right direction, you sometimes need to make a bold gesture. Try something. Get your boat in the water, even though you have no idea where it will take you. Here's a poem I wrote that talks about that. It's called Bless the Rivers. My mother attended seminary in her 50s, never considering that it might lead her to becoming a minister. She just thought she was preparing to get some job at a church. But she found herself in the company of people preparing to be ministers and discovered she had a talent for writing sermons, biblical inquiry, and public speaking. Her river carried her to being the minister of a Presbyterian church for 20 years and then leading a worship service once a month for her retirement community. When I pursued a master's in psychology, I never considered that it might lead me to becoming a therapist. I just thought I'd get some job at a place like Great Opportunities, working with seniors and getting a little better pay. I found myself amongst people preparing to be therapists and discovered I had a talent for compassionate listening and psychological inquiry. My river took me to being a therapist at an agency, and then a therapist in private practice, and then a journal therapist and coach and workshop leader and writer. Bless the rivers that carry us where we need to go when we dare to put our boats in the water. Once my boat was in the water, I had to keep trying things, noticing when something challenged me in a good way, and when something just seemed to block me or cut me off from myself. Eventually, I figured out I was interested in the relationship between inner and outer clutter clearing. I had to try doing it in lots of ways that worked and didn't work before I found a way that worked really well. I had to be like Harold and the Purple Crayon, drawing the work that was a fit for me, because it didn't really already exist. Work that combined clutter clearing, navigating life transitions, taking a sacred stance, and using writing processes. Getting there was not a straight line. It took me a long time to find my way to the work that fit me the best. So you might wonder why I'm retiring from it. Every artist, writer, and musician has to master the skill of ending things, declaring that the book is done, the song is finished, the painting is complete. There may be grief Fears might need to be faced, but there is also freedom for fresh explorations and experiences. When I got clear last December that I needed to retire my coaching practice on June 30th and announced it to my clients, they were not happy about it. But the 6 months process of leading towards an ending was astonishing and powerful for them and for me. By the time the date came, I think we were all very sad, and I think we were all ready. I've been doing more art lately, and I want to share one more poem that speaks to what I've been talking about. It's about a process I went through with drawing and painting a realistic bee. It's called The Imperfectly Finished Bee. I can't tell you how many times during this process I felt like I messed up. Yet when I step back and look through eyes of love, every stage that this imperfect bee went through looks beautiful to me. I can't tell you how many times during my work life I felt like I must not be doing it right. Yet now, as I tell myself the story of the whole trajectory through 30 loving poems, every stage in my imperfect work life has a kind of beauty. Handmade lives are messy, clumsy, and unpredictable. They are also precious, beautiful, and worth protecting. Karen and I are going to share a song now called Handmade Life. I wrote the words many years ago after reading an exploration of the fairy tale, The Red Shoes. The story of a poor orphan girl who makes a pair of shoes for herself out of scraps. They're imperfect, but they're useful, and she loves them, and they're hers. When she is adopted by the wealthy woman, the first thing that woman does is throw those ridiculous shoes into the fire. In the story, the little girl starts craving a pair of store-bought shoes that, at the end of this warning tale, dance her to death. My song has a happier ending. As you listen to it, I invite you to reflect on whether you have ever traded in your handmade life for something that appeared to be an easier or more impressive or exciting alternative. Most of us do that one way or another at some point in our lives. I know I have. Finding our way back to our own handmade lives is a challenging and deeply creative act. Let me get a little water before I sing. Back when you had nothing, searching around, that's when you found some scraps of leather. You stitched and sewed, made a pair of shoes to keep out the blues and the weather. They didn't look just right, but you didn't care. Your feet no longer bare, you started running. You made those shoes with your hands and heart. It felt like the start of good things coming.
It's a handmade life, a life of your own. Don't let them stand in your way. It's a handmade life of your very own. Don't let them take it away.
She came in a carriage of diamond and pearl, said she wanted a girl to be her child. You climbed right in, your lucky day. Riding away, you smiled. She took you to her home, and what did she do? threw your precious shoes into the fire. That's when it started, that hole in your heart that tore you apart with desire.
It's a handmade life, a life of your own. Don't let them stand in your way. It's a handmade life of your very own. Don't let them take it away.
Now you say you have nothing, years stolen away. The price that you paid was much too great. But she just took the shoes. Your life made by hand is still right where you stand. It's not too late. Here and now are scraps of leather, bone and feather, and music too. Just get started, little by little.
Your handmade life will come back to you. It's a handmade life, a life of your own. Don't let them stand in your way. It's a handmade life of your very own. Don't let them take it away.
Sing it with us.
It's a handmade life, a life of your own. Don't let them stand in your way. There's a handmade life of your very own. Don't let them take it away.
Don't let them take it away. Thank you.
There are so many creative ways that people contribute to the life of this congregation. Thank you. Your financial contribution is one way you can express your appreciation. So we're going to pass the basket in a minute. Whatever you can give will be put to good use. Karen FitzGerald will play the offertory after she tells us a bit about what creating music brings to her life.
Hello, I'm Karen FitzGerald. It seems I've had a calling to be a creative musician. When I was 5, I begged for lessons and embarked on traditional piano studies and music theory. As a teen, I began to put that music theory to use, creating my own accompaniments to pop songs. In college, too busy studying math and science to continue piano lessons, I was still drawn to the piano and began teaching myself to improvise. Who knows why I did it? I just had to. As much as I love classical music and respect classical musicians, I knew I didn't want to just get better at playing other people's music. What really drew me was the creative process. And as a young adult, I ditched classical music and began to create my own compositions. I've gone on to live a handmade life in so many different ways. Almost everything I do, I figure it out my own way rather than go with the conventional. These days, that includes finishing my house on Orcas Island. I figured out my own ways to build, and it's so satisfying when I look at the result and know that I did that. The piece I played for the prelude was Fire of Joy, and it was my very first composition in my early 20s. I will now play for you Cascade, part of my more recent work.
And would the ushers please come forward? Thank you, Karen. We're so fortunate to have you and your creative music. Whether we are making art, making music, making a garden, a protest sign, or making dinner, when we are paying attention and deeply engaged, the process of creating can be a transformative balm, a comfort, even a celebration that honors our biggest feelings and brings us into being fully human. There are so many ways to be creative. Even though I don't think one needs to be artistic to be creative, I am going to reflect on 2 artistic practices that have contributed to my creative life. The 2 practices come together in this poem about painting entitled A Child's Watercolor Set. This poem is in a form called a pantoum. Some of you are familiar with this form, in which lines are repeated in a rhythmic pattern. A child's watercolor set. More than 30 years ago, I started painting with a child's watercolor set. I had not thought of myself as artistic ever since 2nd grade, when a comment from a teacher indicated that I was not artistically inclined. But somehow, I felt drawn to play with those pretty colors. I had not thought of myself as artistic, even though I had created a surprisingly good self-portrait at a conference in Santa Fe. Somehow, I felt drawn to play with pretty colors. And I didn't try to paint realistically, even though I had created a surprisingly good self-portrait at a conference in Santa Fe, where many others recounted tales of unsupportive art experiences in school. I didn't try to paint realistically. Playing with paint from a child's paint set opened a doorway into art for fun, just for me. Many people recount tales of unsupportive art experiences in school. I began to let go of the idea that I was not artistically inclined, and I stopped worrying about making mistakes. Playing with paint from a child's paint set opened a doorway into art for fun, just for me. More than 30 years ago, I started painting with a child's watercolor set. How many of you have been told that sometime that you weren't artistic or particularly creative or something along that line? I think many of us think of ourselves as not creative. I want to recommend a book called Your Brain on Art that has this to say about that. When the arts become a regular practice, the way you might improve nutrition, increase exercise, and prioritize sleep, you unleash an innate tool that helps you navigate the peaks and valleys of your life. And the best news is that you don't have to be great or even good at making art to experience the benefits. That's Your Brain on Art. I recommend it. I have a practice of writing a daily poem. It has become profoundly meaningful. This poem that I'm going to read from year 2, day 164, was written on the trip Lynn and I just took to Cape Cod for a big reunion with my 3 sisters, their kids, and grandkids. I hope it will give you a sense of what this writing practice can contribute to one's life. It's called At the End of the Day. At the end of the day, writing my daily poem doesn't always feel creative. But invariably, when I write about what is true in the moment, some new insight or observation emerges, surprising me with connection to my creative life force and hooking me up to goodness in myself and in my sister humans. Tonight, what feels true is how vividly I am living with paradox. I am both very sad to be leaving soon and desperately ready to be back in my own real life. This has felt deeply foreign and strangely familiar. I am loving these people I hardly know, while frequently feeling out of place and invisible. I am anxious to come back and hoping never to return. I am proud of having maintained my sense of open-hearted presence much of the time, but also I joined in on what can only be called mean-spirited gossip about my sister's ex-husband who inserted himself into our family reunion without being invited. I can see how perfectly imperfect I am. That is the paradox of being human, and I think it's true for all of us. And I'm learning to be okay with that. Allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect is how I try to approach my painting, my writing, and my life. I've learned that it's okay to make mistakes. It's important to be curious without judgment, although I can't always succeed at that, to follow my own urges and glimmers, to try new things like wearing this bold pink dress, and let go of some of my habitual ways of doing things. Recently, I took an online art class titled Murmurations. The teacher showed us stunningly beautiful pictures of flocking together birds. Oof. They just give me shivers if you've ever seen them. Have you seen a murmuration? They're just so exciting. And these flocking together birds seem to be of one mind. The teacher suggested that being in the flow of painting is like that. And I'd say being in the flow of creativity is like that, where we're connected to the intelligence of the universe, following our own creative urges. I think that's the epitome of living creatively, which of course isn't possible every minute. But we each have creative contributions to make. And when we're in that flow, I find that I feel fully alive. And that reminds me to choose where I place my time and attention, especially when life is telling me I don't matter and there's nothing I can do. So think about it. How are you creative? There's the teaching with children, entertaining them even for 5 minutes is a very creative invitation. Cooking, planning an event, a garden, a trip, teaching anything, planning a service. There are so many opportunities in our lives to be creative. So use that feeling of aliveness as a guide, because it can help you zero in on the things that bring creativity out in you. Singing does that for me, especially singing with others. Like at yesterday's vigil, we've started a singing resistance pod here, and I don't know about the rest of you, but doing something like singing at a vigil or at a protest is a really community building experience. So the next hymn is one of my favorites. One of the things about planning a service is you get to pick your favorite music. This is My Life Flows On in Endless Song. Rise in body or spirit to sing it with all of us. we close this service, Carrie and I want to talk about creative collaboration. She and I collaborated on this service, obviously, and we think that what we have come up with is different and maybe better than we might have come up with on our own. Here's a quote from Terry Tempest Williams, a brilliant writer and environmental activist whom I admire. Some days, I'm not sure I can get out of bed. Despair is very real. But that is the limits of my own imagination. Imaginations shared create collaboration. In collaboration, we create community. In community, anything is possible. Within the last few weeks, I've been collaborating with my sisters to create a gathering that was fun and meaningful for 20-plus family members ages 3 to 78. Because I've been preparing this service, these ideas about creativity and creative collaboration have been on my mind. It has been truly helpful to try to set aside my judgments, not expect perfection, listen to their ideas, and in general, be curious about the possibilities. Having the intention to collaborate creatively with them helped make all of it better. Here's Carrie's contribution to the topic of creative collaboration.
So when I'm contemplating a topic, it sometimes helps me to just start by writing a poem about it. So I wrote the words creative collaboration vertically down a page and used each letter to start a line of the poem. Curiosity is a helpful thing to bring. Relax the automatic pressure to prove yourself and express truthfully what you know and what you don't know. Trust that collaborations generate an intelligent, intuitive, and vibrant energy. Connect with your listening heart. Organize your thoughts beforehand, but be willing to let go a little of it or all of it if necessary. Breathe into the outrageous belief that something fresh can emerge. Radiate trust in a process bigger than yourself. Align yourself with the life force that's in everything. Tiny tendrils can grow into ideas worth following, and new pathways may become obvious and clear. Now is the time to open yourself to creative collaboration. So this community is full of opportunities to practice the skill of creative collaboration. Every committee, every project, every challenge can be an invitation to play well with others, to engage in the art of feeling out when to share and when to listen and when to push for something and when to be open to something you might never have considered. May we all get better and better at doing that, and may it help us find our way.
As we close this service, here's a favorite quote from Maya Angelou. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. And the more it is used, the more it will expand and transform your life, enriching everything you do. Creativity is a force that connects us to something greater than ourselves, and it's available to anyone who dares to tap into it. Don't worry about whether you are good enough or whether anyone will appreciate your work. The act of creating itself is the reward. And we're going to extinguish the chalice. We did that? Oh, we're going to. Go ahead.
This is where we say it all together.
And we say this thing that's in your, this thing that's in your order of
Here we go.
service.
I've got it.
Yep. We
Extinguish
this
the
chalice,
flame,
but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
All right, and now let's form our two circles. Circle around for a few.